3 times a year, over 12 million cardboard rectangles migrate suddenly and at an astounding rate of speed from populations across the globe to a single point. Most recently, in late February, to the North American city of Chicago.
We've been back from MagicCon Chicago for just a couple of days. Yep. It's Wednesday. We came back on Monday. I am beginning to recover.
Yeah.
How about you?
About the same. Well, I had to go to... I went to work yesterday. I think we both had work yesterday. Yes. So we got back Monday, immediately went back into work on Tuesday, and I'm still pretty tired.
Yes. Well, this was my first MagicCon. I've been to a couple of conventions before, PAX South when it still existed pre-pandemic. And this was your second? Or
Yeah, I went to MagicCon 2020 in Austin. I think that one was more of a command fest. There was like a bigger focus on Commander.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was my second like Magic focused convention to attend.
Yeah. And so we got a bunch of little short video snippets from the con and pictures, and we thought we'd make a little travelogue out of it as a memento for ourselves, but also to give anyone who hasn't been to one of these a general impression of what it's like.
Yeah.
Day 0, hacking, already facing the first challenge, and that's how to pare down to an appropriate number of decks to bring out of these 3 Commander and 2 Pauper decks, plus my draft kit, and also how to pare down the hats I'm bringing, because we live in Texas. We never get to wear the cold weather hats. On our way through an omen path to Chicago. I'm pretty sure that's what this is.
We made it. We're here in Chicago.
Yeah. Here we are. This is it, and we just saw the first banner.
Yep.
I don't know if you can see it in the camera, it's far away, but we're here.
This is the place.
Yeah. So we made it in. We found dinosaurs.
We did.
Yeah, the dinosaur. There's Watley. She's judging us, as she should. We deserve that.
I deserve it.
And there's a bunch of pros playing a pro tour. It's pretty cool.
It's a pretty cool place.
So first impressions, McCormick Place, the convention center, huge.
Yeah, massive.
Someone said that it was about a half-mile walk from the front doors to the part of the convention center that MagicCon was at.
I would buy that, because at one point later on in our... I didn't really track mentally like how much time we were spending traveling from the hotel to the convention center. But on Sunday, there was a point at which I was considering walking back to the hotel to get something I had left behind. And I decided to look it up on maps first. And it was a 40-minute walk from our location inside the hotel back to the hotel.
So,
our location inside the convention center to the hotel.
Whereas slightly under half an hour from the hotel to the convention center. So there's like 12 minutes of walking in the convention center.
It's like, because I was tracking it from like inside one of the rooms, and I'm like, I don't think I can do that and get back in time.
But
very large.
Regardless, we got there 10 minutes before opening on the first day, and they had people yelling to the right, or something like that, and
they sort of just corral you. Once you get inside, we went over this sort of I think it's a sky bridge. We were walking and like, okay, this is cool, and then there's just staff members like, go to the right,
and we could see the pro tour right there.
It was already going. Nope, you go that way.
And then we sent down some elevators and through some doors, and we were in this big like Khazad-dûm parking garage. And then we were shuffled through some lines, and just 10 minutes later, they let whatever 3,000 of us who had queued up in these big groups, and suddenly we're in the convention on the main floor and could do and see all the things. And the first things were a dizzying array of vendors.
Yes, there were so many things to look at on the merchant floor area. So many cards on display, so many very high-end, rare collectible items.
Like there were a few bulk boxes, but like the cheapest thing anyone had was, here's your box of $1 or $2 rares. And even those there weren't many of. The vast majority of things were glass cases with a bajillion singles under them in the $5 to $500 range. I saw
some 500 plus.
I feel like I saw 10% of the dual lands in existence.
There was a really high concentration of dual lands per square foot in that building.
And Oxen, and a few Black Lotus. I mean, a lot of them were the collector's edition, the cheap one, but it was crazy. There was one specifically high-end oriented dealer that had this test run of Swarovski crystal coated basic lands.
Those were wild.
What were they, like $80,000 a piece?
They were.
But I think they were the Dominaria United full art bases.
Yeah, I want to say they were Dominaria United, or God, I was so distracted by all the crystals on them.
Yeah,
I think they might have been I think you're right, and I was just like, well, I've never even heard that they tried that out.
Yeah.
I think I made a comment like, is this something they were trying out? And the vendor was like, yeah, it is. So who knows how many of those are even in existence, because it looked like a test product.
It felt like that was probably the only ones.
Yeah, like that just never went anywhere.
Yeah.
There was also some original art in that area. Like before we even get into the artist alley, there was a original sketch of Ron Spencer's art for Yawgmoth's Will.
I think I've got a picture of
You
him.
probably do, because I stopped and asked the vendor how much it was, and he said it was $40K, and of course I was like, oh no, I left my checkbook at home. Whoopsies.
I was surprised they didn't put the price, because there were a lot of things there that were like $40K, and people weren't shy about putting that price on things.
I don't know why that was unmarked. I got the impression that was one of those, like, if you have to ask, you can't afford it vibes.
Yeah. I mean, it's Swarovski crystal coated lands, but that's not a price tag on it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was wild just how much stuff. And they also had, I think it was the same place where they had the crystal lands. They had the original playtest cards from
like the pre-alpha.
Like the pre-alpha, like there was. I'm trying to remember the one that had the plane on it.
Oh, it's a plane.
It was just a
basic
plane,
land
and it just had like a picture of a plane.
Yeah,
and I love that.
I've seen it, but those you can just Google and find those pictures
but
online
they
too.
had
a bunch.
there. Like you could buy them.
Yeah, that was the same deal.
And that was kind of wild, because usually, I mean, like I'll go into like our local game store around this area, and like they have some neat stuff. They have some secret lair product. They might have one or two. Every now and then I'll see like a dual land or something in the case, but it was just kind of crazy to see that much stuff out there in the glass cases.
Oh, yeah. Vendor after vendor. There were probably 20 vendors that had that type of stock.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. I looked up single prices like on TCG Player for quite a few things while we were there, and they tended to be a little cheaper on TCG Player, which makes sense because
you get the immediacy here, like I'm getting it right now.
But they weren't outrageously expensive on the whole. But there was a lot of shopping around to do. Like I ended up with a box of War of the Spark that I paid $125 for, so we can have some sealed or draft games later. But I initially saw one for $115 and got kind of disappointed when I saw that I had lost the chance, because that one sold.
They had one box.
But other places had the same thing for like $230.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's sold, but like there was a range on lots of things.
I got a box of Original Conspiracy for $150, which was a steal. I have been looking for a box of Original Conspiracy for a while after having a really bad online experience trying to purchase one. And then I haven't been able to find it locally because the one place I was going to get it, they have Take the Crown, but they didn't have Original Conspiracy, and slightly different price point, but like Take the Crown was over $200 at the game store I was looking at. So when I asked about it, it was like, hey, how much is that box of Conspiracy? I was like, sold. I'll take it right now. Like,
that was an exciting moment.
Yeah.
And you also, beyond that, you also got, I don't know if it's your white whale, but you completed a particular collection.
I did. This is a foil alt-art Yawgmoth from Dominaria Remastered.
Yes.
So I was on a mission to get this for about 15 minutes, and I've already completed it.
Yeah, and this means you have every
And
single
this means I
variant
have
of
them all.
Yogo.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Foil and non-foil.
Now they just have to release more.
Yeah. So now I have at least one of every iteration of Yawgmoth Thran Physician in foil and non-foil, and I'm very pleased about that.
The way you phrase that, which one do you have multiples of?
I have multiples of the Time Spiral printing in the retro border.
Okay.
Because
you don't have to give it because you did.
More than one.
Right. That's what you're doing. Fair. All right, well, let's then move on to Artist Alley proper. Well, probably not proper because I don't think that's its name, but where all the artists were. How many of those were there? Maybe also 20-ish?
Yeah, I'd say about. I know there was a little bit. Not everyone was there every day. I think there was some.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I thought there was one or two that didn't do all
Most
3
were there
days,
every day.
but most of them were there every day. And I went on kind of a little scavenger hunt because I took a small binder of cards for a friend to get signed while I was there, in addition to some stuff for myself. That was a very interesting experience. Just the amount of times where there were crazy long lines, or the lines were capped in some instances where you could not get in line anymore. They were done for the day, or they were done for now.
Especially days 2 and 3.
Yeah, day 2 and 3.
Friday was a little less attended.
Yeah,
but not by a lot.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday definitely was like much more crowded. But yeah, that was super cool getting to actually go up and talk to some of these people who created these iconic works of art. Again, very different experiences across the board in terms of how many of them have probably done hundreds of these.
Some, not all of the older artists very much felt like they were just there getting a paycheck. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. That's fair. But they were just doing their job, and they would be polite and everything. But that was clearly it. But then like Serena Malion, I think is her last name. She's one of the newer artist to the game. Her first piece was Discipline Duelist. I got that signed, and she did the neweristic study alt art that was in the Wilds of Eldraine bonus sheet. Oh, so beautiful. And she was just so enthusiastic and seemed really happy to be there. And I was so excited to meet people like her. And you had a good experience with one of the old guys.
I did. So on the last day, I had all but given up on getting Dan Fraser's signature for my buddy. There was like 2 that I was missing. And final day, I was like, oh wow, there's like almost nobody in line. So I ran over there. They're about to cap the line. I asked like, hey, I just have like 1 card. Is there time? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. It's just 1 card. Because, there were people in front of me. Some people were getting 1 card signed. Some people brought binders. So some of these interactions were taking like 30 plus minutes. Some people wanted a lot more than just a signature. They wanted they were buying artist proofs. They wanted sketches on the back. Yeah. Some of these things were taking a while, hence why lines were so long. But anyway, I get in line, get up there. He was so nice, just really polite, very jovial, talked to me for a little bit. Gave me a piece of chocolate, which was awesome.
All right. What kind of chocolate? Was
it was an Andes, like a mint, like a chocolate mint.
I think that's real good chocolate.
It was very tasty. I definitely needed something to eat at that point. I was not doing good self-care in terms of like hydration and nourishment while we were at this con.
You cannot eat gluten, and that is really hard to deal with at a place where it's basically all pizza and hot dog stands.
It really is. Like, that is a real food
and churros,
desert.
But that also does not help you.
Yeah, there's not the choices.
Strawberry and banana filled churros. That was weird.
That was.
I'm sorry to go off topic.
Yeah, but he gave me a piece of chocolate, which was very much needed. Because I don't know when I had last eaten something at that point. And he was just incredibly kind and wonderful to talk to.
That's great.
But none of our friends were around when this happened, so there were no witnesses to this that I knew.
Sorry.
Like, just the strangers in the crowd, me and Dan. It's like, nobody's gonna believe me that this happened. And then I had already eaten the chocolate by the time I met up with you guys again, so I didn't even have all I had was the wrapper.
Honestly, if you'd showed up, like, none of us questioned that any of this happened, but if you'd shown up with just the chocolate and said, this is my proof, we would have all then suddenly been very suspicious.
That would be kind of weird for me to mention that. Yeah. Also, I think it's just a lot more in character for me to just have immediately eaten it. Like, it would have been weirder that I was carrying it around.
Fair.
Honestly, part of why I ate it right then and there was, like, I stepped away from the table first, but I ate it immediately after that because I was A, worried that I was going to put it in my pocket and forget about it and cause a disaster. Yeah. And B, was very hungry because I think I mostly subsisted on, there was one vendor that was selling hot dogs, but they also had chili.
Right.
So I was able to eat chili with nothing else. And then I was also eating potato chips. And then there was one day one of our friends gave me a chocolate bar, and another day that another friend insisted that I take a bag of chocolate covered almonds. So like that was my sustenance when we were not out of the con at the end of the day eating dinner. Yeah. So I very much needed the nourishment. Thank you, Dan Fraser.
So I guess we've actually just sort of been working counterclockwise around the convention floor in what we've been describing. Coincidentally, but next would be the agency.
Oh yeah, that was really that was a really cool setup they had.
We saw initially there's this real flavorful area where they have all these like prop walls and things set up, and I assumed, that must be some ticketed thing where you have to pay
That's
extra
what
to do
I thought
this.
too. Like, I didn't even walk over there because I
Yeah.
assumed it was some kind of experience that I didn't sign up
Right.
for.
Yeah. But then one of our friends just comes back from wandering around and says, oh, yeah, I did all this stuff over
Yeah.
there and solved this thing and got some free stuff. Like,
Yeah.
And how much did it cost? Oh, you just do it.
Yeah, he was like, I just walked in.
Yeah. So this, I don't know if this is always part of Magic Cons, but if it is, that's really cool that there's at least one big just thing that has to do with the current set that you just go and do and it's just free. So there are a bunch of riddles you solve.
I don't think they had anything like that at the last one I went to, because that one, Throne of Eldraine was the most recent set for that one, and I don't recall there being any kind of like experiential prop setup of that size. I think they had the big Planeswalker banners. They had a bunch of the Amonkhet gods on these big banner things, but I don't remember anything like this. Like, this was really cool. You could walk through these doorways. It was almost like a little tiny, like a theater set.
Yeah.
With all
In
the
segments,
the props, and it was in segments. It was broken up, but they had there was a wall you could stand next to and like take a mugshot with your magic related crime on your board, which I think we all did that. We probably have the pictures of that somewhere. And then the first part of it actually involved you had to take a little magnifying glass with these markings on it to try and decipher a code. And then there was a like a cork board with evidence pinned to it and little strings tying them together. We had to solve that code. I forgot what the other part was.
There was like a crossword with, it wasn't exactly a crossword, but it was a bunch of questions about all these case files. And there were 6 case files on the tables. Which the coolest thing was honestly the props on the tables. I got a short video.
I really liked the props. That was
bag, whatever that is. It uncommon detective's bag or something. That's some cool stuff there.
Yeah, one of the desks also had like a little red herring statue, which I got a picture of. There was a lot of neat stuff that they put together for that. They also had some professional cosplayers in that area.
Right, that's right.
The Kaya
and the head prof.
The head prof.
There's a third. I forget who it was.
I think they had Massacre Girl.
They might have. There were a lot of Massacre Girls running around, including someone in our group. So it's just
I think one of them was with that group of people. So they were kind of in that region, just sort of adding more flavor to that little experience.
Yeah, and so I guess that's the bulk of what we did was mill between those areas and just play Commander with our friend group. And then toward the end of the day, the rest of them went over to the game nights live, where the professor was there, and I don't remember who the 4th player was, but we heard a lot of it while we were.
The professor was there. I think Jimmy Wong was there.
Yeah.
Who else was? Of course, the normal game nights. Who was the 4th person? I don't remember. Like the professor and somebody else. I forget.
I hope we don't get canceled for this.
I'll
cut this.
We didn't go to that event. Okay, we were in a draft and we were watching from afar as we heard people yelling.
So as they headed over that, we headed over to check out the on-demand events because they had an enormous portion of the floor. Probably the biggest portion is 4 events. It's these long tables where you can do a bunch of one-on-one games, and some of them are pre-planned, pre-purchased, with like flashback drafts to Shadows over Innistrad or like
the more premium experiences that are not related to like the current set.
But then there's also on-demand drafts, and they also have on-demand constructed events like even Pauper, so everything Pauper through Legacy. But we had planned to do at least 1 draft a day. I was hoping to do a couple a day. Foreshadowing that didn't happen, but did get our first one in there at the end of that day. And that was such an easy experience. We walk up to this ticket booth, buy 2 vouchers because it's 1 voucher for a constructed event. Or 2.
There was hardly anybody in line. I remember we just like walked up there.
Yeah, and so the vouchers are $10 each, so it's $20 for a draft. Perfectly reasonable. You're not even paying a premium like you do for the food of this thing. And then go sit down at these tables, which are like gathering points based on the type of event you want to join. And
they have like little table markers, so you just park yourself there. Like for instance, we were trying to do a Swiss draft, so we just walked up to the Swiss draft table. Once they get 8 people who are interested in doing that, a judge, you call a judge, and then they get the ball rolling and you get started.
And I think that's probably the most popular of the on-demand events, was just Swiss draft card set, and they were firing like every 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah, because like we didn't wait a long time at all. Like we just kind of rolled up to a table and was like, okay, great, we've got enough people. Let's get started.
Yeah. And it was weirdly independent from that point because they kind of let us handle the bracket organization stuff, which I did not like because I'm pretty sure we at least in one of our drafts, we kind of screwed it up and we ended up where someone just like withdrew because it was late.
There was, I think that was day 2.
Yeah.
Somebody left before the final round, and so things got a little wonky. But
if they hadn't, we would have had to have paired people who had already played each other
so
because there wasn't a judge actually doing the pairings in a reasonable way.
Yeah, that part was a little weird because they kind of just like give you the supplies, they give you a paper with the brackets lined up on there, you write your names in,
and the judges are around. You can call if you need a judge
absolutely
call,
are.
but they're really spread thin.
Yeah, they're not personally involved in your draft once you kind of get things going, and then you're supposed to call them in between rounds to distribute tickets, which some people did that, some people just gave us all the tickets at the get-go. It seemed a little bit different depending on who started your draft, so there was a bit of inconsistency with that. But overall, I mean, I think it went pretty well considering like despite, at least when I've drafted at game stores, many times there is a point where we all have to stop and count our cards because somebody passed the wrong pack or something got mixed up. That never happened. So I was really proud of us for not having that experience.
Good for us.
Yeah, good for us.
Yeah. and if, again, foreshadowing, if that had gone that smoothly all weekend, I would be really delighted with the on-demand experience. And I would be ready to go back to another con and just plan to do a bunch of that again.
Yes.
But we'll come back to that shortly.
Yeah, we'll return to that.
Oh my god, it's snowing! Ah, look, our friends in the snow. Yeah, we're walking in the snow. It's pretty.
It is pretty.
It is pretty. Okay, a minute ago, I said it was pretty, but now we're dying.
Yeah, we're walking into the wind now. It's not pleasant.
This Yeti hat is not enough.
Yeah, I need to go get gloves at the hotel. I'm dying.
Okay.
A very unhappy lizard.
It's the last little custard dumpling. Oh no, it's the last one, but oh my god, there's more! It's even snowier.
Yeah, the snow's coming down hard now.
It is.